using a lot of bandwidth there. I got on 7. That's just top. 9 is this. Okay. Anybody here? He went to go get his milk. And I am live on standard definition, which is really doesn't matter because I'm not really streaming much. Am I streaming as I am streaming? Okay, yeah, output default. Play the sound. Okay. Oh, places. Okay. How long does it take to get milk? No? Yeah, somebody's here viewing. Reviewing to see Xha Lee. So you can hear me now. Put on your headphones. You should be able to hear me.
Hello?
Hello, I can hear you. And I see you. And I'm also live streaming now. You turn up the volume. Oh, and he left.
Hello?
I can hear you fine. Wait, am I? No, I'm not muted. I don't think I'm muted.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Next. Oh, you can hear me. Can you see my video? Like, can you see my head?
Yep.
I cannot hear you. No, can I see you? No, I don't see your desktop. I don't see. Oh, you can see me. Shit, I'm live. Oh, I'm using the. Oh, maybe I should switch. Hold on. Let me switch to Chrome then. Well, I'm using the Brave, so maybe there's something about Brave. Hold on a second. Let me get the link. Okay, I'm gonna exit here and yeah, but I cannot hear you. No, can I see you? I don't see. Hold on, let me quit Brave. Okay, I quit and go and log in from to. Okay, yeah, bye.
Whoop. Heard you come in.
Hey, great. I can hear you. I can
Now
see
you can
you.
hear me.
Yep.
And you should know that
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Which one? Oh, I can see you twice here. And I've got, it seems like you're still logged in from Brave.
Oh, really? No,
I
well,
see you twice there.
I already quit Brave though. Well, let me go back to Brave and try to log out or something.
It doesn't matter so much. So what? People are going to see your face twice. Who cares?
Okay. Yeah, let me quit Brave here. How do I?
No, it looks like you just left. Should be fine.
Oh, okay. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
It looks like you're coming through fine.
Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
very good.
we all set.
All
So
set.
you lead the way.
So the first thing I don't know if you've been seeing the stuff that I posted on Mastodon lately. I've been looking at somebody told me so far they're awesome, and I don't even know what that's talking about. I don't know how I got that message coming up. Okay, Mastodon, I've been talking about Clojure a lot lately. You have any experience with Clojure?
Yep, I programmed Clojure for like full time for a year total.
Yeah, so what do you think?
That was 3 years ago though. I think the language is great. I would love it, but except there's one thing that that just turns me off. That is the kind of integrated. I mean, heavily tied with Java.
Oh, that's one of the things that's bothering me too.
Yeah, I really wish if Clojure would be independent language. I mean, the two aspects. One is that totally independent, like out of JVM, not on running on JVM, just like Golang or Python, any language, just a language by itself. That's one thing.
Wait, Golang's compiled though, no?
Yes, it is. I mean, Clojure
So
can
it's
do
not
the
really the
same.
same. It's not a good comparison between Golang and Python. Python, you still have to run it on. It's not really a VM, but you have to run it through their their interpreter. So
yeah, but my point is, I mean, just one software. I mean, you don't have to download JVM, and Java. The whole environment is complicated. You have JVM, you have the runtime. You have to download several things.
right.
Then when you run Clojure, it's actually like a Java library. It's like you start the JVM running that library.
So I think I started looking at it. It's interesting. I guess it goes along with what you've been doing lately with the JavaScript tutorials that they have. The Clojure can run on top. It doesn't really run on top of it, but it compiles the JavaScript. So that's one of the things that I was interested in because I mean I've done a lot of front end development and
I see the Clojure script.
JavaScript.
The Clojure script, right?
Right.
Yeah, I heard that is independent. You don't need JVM. But
no,
I haven't.
You still need JVM. You need JVM to compile it. It compiles. What's it compiles? There's another word that's the more right word, but it translates to JavaScript that you can load into and it runs in the browser. And there's really some neat tools there, but I have my own reservations about moving over and starting to get into Clojure.
I see. So you still need JVM, huh?
Yeah, you still need JVM to compile it and run it and the REPL and everything.
Okay, there's one thing I don't understand about these. There are many languages that compiles to JavaScript, but the part I don't understand is that when you try to code DOM, let's say on web page you have a input box. You want to use DOM to, when you want to use DOM, how do they work? I mean, I can understand if Clojure is trying to do JavaScript, where every JavaScript function you just have a Clojure version. But when it comes to DOM, how do they do it? I mean, how do they work?
So there's two things. First of all, the Clojure script has interop with JavaScript, so you can call document dot get
okay.
element by ID and update it there. But that's not really, I guess, the Clojure way of doing it. It's not really purely functional.
Right.
So there's libraries that go on top of React, that go on top of ClojureScript, and then you have this whole pile of stuff. And then
I see.
but so you define your DOM in a functional way, and then you just mute. You don't really mutate the DOM, but you give it the old DOM, and then
Right.
you spit out a new DOM.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It would be nice if you show that.
I'm not
maybe
enough.
today or something.
I'm not enough. I plan to do a series on Learn ClojureScript with me, but I've just
Okay.
been reading about it lately, and I'm starting in. I'm leaving where I'm working now. I'm going to a new project, and I need to decide the technology that I want to use there. And so I was looking into ClojureScript. I have my other problems that I have. One is that I kind of have this problem with a lot of software that claims to be open source, that they use a lot of stuff that isn't really. So
Yeah.
I know what your feelings that you don't really care about open source. I don't know if I care about it or not, but if something claims to be open source, then you should be open source. Don't claim to be open source and then tell me that I have to download Microsoft's runtime or something like that. That's
exactly.
So
I'm not against open source, really. I'm just frustrated with the kind of I was a Free Software Foundation fanatic, back then.
So I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have my opinion about that so much, but I know that Clojure. So if you want to contribute to Clojure the language, the only way to do it is through Jira and sending patches. So Jira is closed script, is proprietary, and it's also an awful program. I don't know if you've ever had to use Jira.
Yeah, I heard. It seems very bloated.
It's not just it's a headache to use. So, but it's another thing. It's closed source. There's open source alternatives, and also the biggest, what I've understand, the biggest community for Clojure is on Slack, and Slack is also proprietary closed source stuff. And I mean, what's wrong with IRC? IRC worked for everybody for years. I mean, why do we need Slack for this?
Well, I can see why, because Slack is kind of I mean, most people, they are not very technical. IRC is kind of, you have to. It's a slightly more difficult to use. I mean, Slack, you just go to the website, start to use it.
Okay, but fine. But we're talking about a user group for Lisp developers. I think people that are writing Lisp have enough technical prowess that they can use IRC. I mean,
then you start to tell people to start to use Emacs. Things get
but they already are.
More.
I think that's. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing that a lot of people now are getting on looking at Clojure, and the best editor for writing Lisp is Emacs. So a lot of people are getting into. You see a lot of people using their Macs, like you using Emacs. So
yeah, I think I read one of your message. You are saying a lot of people are using Mac. Yeah.
So I used Macs since I was it was the first computers that I used. I only stopped using Apple like in the last few years. I left them. They started doing a lot of things that really bothered me, and it's really impacted my ability to do development. So I switched over to I had a MacBook Pro, and I installed on it Linux, and then I decided if I'm using Linux, I don't need to pay an extra $1,000 for a Mac, and I bought an HP, which is HP secondhand for $200, and it's been working fine for me. And okay, my wife has one of the new MacBooks, and it's really it's sad. It's such a piece of garbage.
Yeah, they kind of going downhill, I think.
But it's had it for probably less than a year. The USB port stopped working. I mean, the keyboards are. Everybody knows about the keyboards.
Yeah, the keyboard
trackpad is.
Yeah.
It's a shame they used to make such good stuff. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? Okay, so how did you like Clojure when you were working with it? What kind of stuff? What were you doing with it exactly? If you can
I
tell.
was writing. Actually. There's this project. You can still see it. It's called VisiCalc. VISICALC. If you just search VisiCalc Clojure, I think you'll find it on GitHub. But basically, is this guy, David. What's his last name? But anyway, he was a Scala expert and also Clojure expert. He's the one who wrote the most popular Scala framework. Scala
Okay.
is, it's a functional language on JVM. Yeah, so he wrote this Scala web framework, and he wanted, he was trying to help me out because of and so he had me work on some project. That was the project is kind of how do you describe it? It's kind of it's almost like creating. It involves parsing and compiling. So basically, you go to a website, and
Okay.
you can type code, like what's the notebook these days very popular. There's a notebook there's a web interface.
I don't know. There's Jupyter. I've heard about that.
Yeah, so the project I was working on is kind of similar to Jupyter in nature. You go to a website, you can type code, and it connects to the backend server, and you can see your result, graph it, things like that. So it's fairly complicated, but I didn't really. I worked half a year on it. So Clojure, the language, I think it's great. Yeah, but my only complaint is with the kind of integration with Java. Not integration, but I mean, even the documentation. Like if you really try to understand what is, for example, a sequence in Clojure, or they have several data structures. When you try to read the doc, they mention Java stuff. This Java interface. Then you have to, if you don't know Java, you have to look at what's a Java interface. Then, the Java language is a whole bag of complexity. Interface, classes, object, hierarchy and stuff.
Well, I think it's kind of strange that Clojure is trying to be a very functional language, and the what's the guy is the made Clojure?
Hick. Rich Hick.
Rich Hick. So he also seems to not very much like object-oriented programming, and it's kind of weird that he would base his language, that it would compile onto something that's completely based on object-oriented. So
I think that's because that's his background. I mean, he's a Java expert, and the type of things he do is like enterprise programming. Like these big corporations with giant databases, business stuff. So, and he doesn't like, he like Lisp, so he created on top of Java. I think that's my guess. I think the main thing he was trying to do is really to solve the concurrency problem with Clojure. But I tried to understand it, but it's very hard to understand what Clojure is doing about concurrency. Like you have this atom stuff, and I forgot what, but it's very hard to understand.
Well, have you done anything ever with Common Lisp?
No.
Okay.
No.
So I probably did. I don't know. I did Lisp when I was learning in university, and I think that had to be like 20 years ago. And then I've been doing stuff in Emacs Lisp, and Clojure is doesn't feel so much like. I mean, it's Lisp that you have. I mean, everything's enclosed in sign kind of parentheses, but there's too many different types of parentheses. I mean, I feel like
exactly.
If we're Lisp, I like lists. So
that is one of my complaints as well. You have so many special, syntaxes in Clojure. So many.
So that's actually I wanted to ask you about this specifically. So how long have you been speaking English?
Oh, since well, I started to learn it in 1984, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so I use different dates. So tell me how long ago that was.
Let's see, 35 years ago, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so I, I was thinking about Clojure. It uses a lot of symbols and less, I guess, English language. And I know I have a lot of friends that maybe that would like to learn programming, but they don't speak any English. So I was thinking that maybe Clojure would be a good language for them since it's using a lot of symbols, and you could actually use macros to redefine anything that's in English language. You could redefine it into a symbol or into another language.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. I'm not sure about that idea though, because if you have English, I mean, if you have English versus some symbol, in either case, you have to like look it up, what they mean. Then you understand. You see, so for someone who doesn't speak English, you still you can look up that word, translate to your language. But when it's symbol, you still need to look up, at the first time when you see it, but it's hard to look up symbols what they mean. It's
Right.
like when you search web, if a programming language has a good name, you can find it right away. But if you don't know the name, like some symbol, it'll be hard to locate it.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we would also have another problem that Hebrew goes from the other way, from right to left. So that would be a problem writing parentheses if it's always going the other way. The Hebrew keyboard, you write it backwards. So that would be a problem.
Right. Let me ask you a question. So in Israel, I guess in Israel, do they when they code, when they put comments, do they write in Hebrew or?
They shouldn't. They should be writing in English. Whenever I write anything technical or documentation, I write in English.
Okay.
But there's a kind of I don't know if it's famous or infamous thing in PHP. You know, PHP was developed in Israel, right? The modern PHP.
Oh, I didn't know. No.
Oh, so Zend, Zend is located in a city here, about 30 miles away from where I live,
I see.
and there's a weird error that you can get in Zend that says "pamaim nekudatim," and it's written out in English, but it's Hebrew words. So you can do a search for it, and you'll see that the people asking, "What is this thing?" I mean, we've gotten this message, and it's like, "What is this?" It's we tried to figure out maybe it's trying to translate something for us. And so it gives an error message in Hebrew, but it's translated not translated, transliterated in English words.
I see.
Yeah, most developers here are going to write. I don't think anybody would write comments in.
Okay. And you don't recommend it, right? You don't.
No, for sure not. For sure not. I mean, you have enough. You have enough problems. You need to do UTF-8 on in your code and make sure that everybody's doing the same encodings. ASCII is good, and especially if you're writing stuff for open source and you want somebody to contribute to it. Then
Yeah.
you see people do that in Chinese, that they're writing comments in Chinese in the code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Chinese in China, programming in China, when they comment often it's Chinese. But the other question is, would they use Chinese characters for function or variable names? Now that is I think it's usually frowned upon. People, they don't want that. But for comments, I think it's popular, and also people do it. Yeah.
Okay, so I know that we have in the place that I'm working now, which I'm leaving in a month, they have a guy that's from China that works from them, and he uses almost all of his variable names are X. So
just a single letter X.
The single letter X, or sometimes two X's.
Oh, okay.
He's not very good at using variable names, and same thing for his Git commits. It's something like XXX or something like that. So you've seen that type of thing before? Or?
No, I haven't seen that
Okay,
before.
good. And
I often use X myself, only because that's just my, my brief for my name. So often I start file name with X.
Okay, so I mean, it's a different thing if you're writing sample code and you're trying to explain to somebody. So
Right.
if you're doing loops and you're using INJ, and you're explaining how
Right.
loops work, that's a fine. But if you're
I
doing
know what you
production
mean.
code,
I guess does he speak English well, or
I don't know. I've never actually talked to him. He's in China, so I have
oh, definitely. I guess not then.
I've had a lot of problems with him that I write documentation, and I know that he has not read the documentation that I wrote. It's obvious that he didn't read the documentation, and
Yeah, I think it's actually hard to know another language. Like especially people in China, they might get along a bit with English, but they don't really know it that well, I think.
well, Israel, it's also the same thing. I mean, a lot of people, the non-religious people here, they learn it in high school, and they like to think that they know English, and they try to talk to you in English, and then you realize that they don't know English at all. It's like
Right.
they really think that they know, but they really don't.
Let me ask you this. You don't have to answer if it's private. I think I asked you this before. Were you born in Israel or were you born in USA?
I was born in DC.
Oh, DC.
Washington, DC.
I see. So you grew up with English first.
Yeah, I grew up speaking English.
Okay.
So
Then
I
you
learned
learned
Hebrew.
Hebrew.
Yeah, and I also speak Yiddish. And I speak a little bit of Russian and
Okay.
a little bit of Spanish and a little bit of Cantonese too. So, but nothing that I can say without putting a "not safe for work" exclamation on the video. First.
Okay, say some Cantonese.
No,
Let me judge.
somebody's gonna come back and watch this video later and see what the
Are we on YouTube streaming?
yeah YouTube streaming and also Jitsi. But Jitsi's it gives it a lot better. So nobody's actually commenting and nobody is coming in. But if you go on the Jitsi stream goes so much faster than YouTube.
What? Yeah, but okay. What is it though? I mean, is it a website by itself?
Jitsi?
Yeah.
I used it for another. They used to make a different product completely that I used for another company that I worked for. That they made a SIP client.
A what?
A SIP client, a soft SIP, SIP.
SIP. No, I do not know.
It's like a voice over IP. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
they made a SIP client a long time ago, and I went back to look at them. I was looking for a new project that I wanted to do that for a SIP, and they made the best SIP client that I remembered. And I saw that they made this new service that you can just go to a website and you pick a URL randomly, and then you can just send people a URL, and they can come and use that to do a voice chat. And
Oh, okay.
sorry, you can also, but they also have a thing that when you do so the
hold on a second. So
directly to YouTube.
What?
It can stream directly to YouTube.
Oh, okay. So this also function as a kind like Google Hangout, right? I mean, not
sure.
connected. I mean, you can just get your friends to live chat together.
Yeah, you can get them to live chat together, and then but you can stream the live chat to
YouTube.
To YouTube. So I don't know if you've probably not. Hopefully not, because they've mostly been a waste of time. That the live coding that I've been doing. So I usually just start up Jitsi, and you can share your screen, or I can not share my screen. It's also good because it's a lot easier, a lot less setup than using what you call it, OBS.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you start it up, and you can say that I want to share, I want to stream, and I can pick it lets you pick a window that you want to share when you share your screen. So that's usually what I do, because I don't need to share my whole screen. Nobody needs to see the email notifications coming up and all the notifications that are coming up from Mastodon and everything else. If I'm doing programming Emacs, I just want to show Emacs. So that's what I think I did now. I show my whole screen. Yeah, I think I just have Emacs showing now, right?
Yeah.
Just Emacs.
Yeah, I'm seeing your screen. Yeah.
And
great. So I should, I should try this.
Yeah, so only Emacs. I mean, really, there's not really anything else that's worth showing on the screen except for Emacs.
Yeah, I guess unless you have other topics, do something. Yeah, in Emacs, it's
So I'll show you the project. I probably haven't been watching the stream that I've been doing, but the project that I did, it was kind of a.
You were live streaming the first time when I saw that part. I was there for a while.
Which one?
But I think something about PHP. Like I don't understand. I mean, that's usually happens when live coding. Because I go there, I don't know. I haven't coded PHP for like 10 years, so I don't know what exactly you are doing.
So PHP has gotten so much better than what it was. I mean,
I heard.
So what did I just do? I have a failure on my test. So I need to figure out what that is. So what the project did that I did is that I am at the work that I'm now leaving. So if you're doing unit tests, we wanted to have a callback when a certain job was done. And I wanted to do a unit test to make sure that when somebody registered a callback, I was actually using the callback. And there was a site that kind of provided this kind of functionality, but after every 48 hours they would ban you. They would turn it off. So you had to go back and register again. So it was kind of a simple thing to do. So I rewrote it, not rewrote it, but I wrote a more simple way to do it that you can for people that want to do unit testing on something that does a callback. So you can make a request to a URL, and then you can afterwards you can send another request to the same URL, but put in the query string inspect, and it will give you back the request parameters that you sent.
I see.
So it was pretty simple, but I think it's helpful for people to see that you can do PHP development in Emacs, and you don't need to use any of these crazy IDs. And
let me ask you, what mod are you using for PHP?
I'm using a bunch of them. Let's see.
A bunch of them?
Yeah. What mode? I'm using PHP mode.
Oh, PHP mode.
But I'm using a bunch of other things on top of it. So
I see.
So if we go to my index.org, languages, PHP.
Magnify a bit. Okay. That's
projectile. Okay, first thing in projectile, I defined a project that uses PHP spec. So it kind of looks and see if I have PHP spec installed, and then it sets up the project so that it'll run my tests automatically. Actually, on this project, though, I'm not using PHP spec. And where I put it.
And you are using org mod for your init file.
Right.
You are using this Babel thing.
Right, but I didn't do it like everybody else did. So everybody else, they have a separate. Everybody else that I've seen that do it has a separate init.el, but I just have mine spit out. They have a separate init.el that loads the org mode and then compiles it when you load Emacs. Not compiles it. What's the word? That tangles it to Emacs. So what I have mine is is that I have I have a save hook here that every time I save the file, it converts it to init.el.
To a separate file?
Yeah. So what most people do is they have an init.el that will load their org mode file.
Oh.
Right?
I
but
see.
I don't want that extra step. I don't need that. I think it's kind of like, I thought it was redundant, but actually it's not. So
instead you are you run this, when you save this file, it generates the init.el.
Right.
Pure Emacs. I mean pure Emacs list, no org.
No org. It runs it has some links back to the org mode. It also makes it also exports it to HTML too.
Why is that? Just
because
so
when I publish it I put it on
I see what you mean.
GitLab. It also puts the HTML file. It copies it, so
Right.
it comes up as a website. Where's languages? Languages here. Okay, so PHP. Okay, so PHP mode.
I've never used org-mod for init. Yeah, I never tried it.
But I think I remember you saying that you don't have too many packages installed, though. You don't
Yeah,
use a lot
that's
of packages.
true too.
So
Yeah.
I use a lot of packages.
I've never used the use package neither. You know, a lot of people say it's great.
Oh, it is. It makes a huge difference.
I see.
I mean, rather than trying to, what are you using? Install package?
Yeah. Well, I don't use. I mean, I just use load. if you need to load a package, just the raw release function load or require or things like that.
Okay, so I just had somebody actually on the YouTube comment said that he gives me a +1 for the local after save hook. He said that Tango on startup is obscenely slow. So, Eppa, he gets a thumbs up that he enjoys that. So he should know that it's also on my GitLab. He can, instead of trying to copy and paste it from my screen, he can see it there. So for PHP, I have a bunch of configuration, I guess, simple stuff for PHP. What I have is a lot of other things that are installed is PHP autocomplete, which gives like the autocomplete pop-ups. I think the guy who wrote this is Chinese. I think there's a lot of Chinese comments in there. That's why I asked about it.
Autocomplete PHP.
So this actually gives some pretty neat stuff. So it'll autocomplete. So if I do this, right, and it jumps it up, but because I increase the font, everything's messed up. But I can also do.
You can make it one time smaller.
It doesn't matter. But the thing is, if I could do, wait, let's did that show up?
I cannot read your mod line though, because it seems all white on gray.
Yeah, I didn't set it up right. I'm using the default the theme that comes with what is it? What am I using? I'm using Ubuntu Mate.
Okay.
Oh, what happened there? So I have I can use the cross reference that I can jump to the definitions of files and things like that. Let's see, use PHP test. The problem is that this is really a bad example of a project because I didn't write any classes. I just wrote everything in init.el. But what I can do is like file get contents. If I try and do the cross reference from here, it will go to the PHP site, and I can see the definition here, and then I can jump back. Oops.
I see.
And jump back to my code.
Is that a package or
yeah,
what?
It's PHP autocomplete. AC PHP does that. But I redefine the keys so that it works the same as like as xref.
Okay.
So the same things like if you're in Lisp and you're in Emacs Lisp and you press meta period and meta comma, that'll jump to the definition and jump back. I redefined it there. That'll work with PHP.
Okay. Cool.
So if I was in a real project that had actually, it would jump back. It uses a PHP script to kind of build something like G tags for it. Let's see what else. But I also have a lot of linters. I have a lot
of what?
Linters.
Linters. Okay.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I have 3 different linters installed that I use for PHP. I have Code Sniffer, and I have Mess Detector, and then I have PHP Stan, which is a static analyzer for PHP. So
I see.
which is kind of mess, but it'll show me if I have like the not if something's not returning the right type. That's what PHP stand does. PHP mess detector will tell me if I'm using static. If I'm using, I don't know, let's say some class.
PHP doesn't have types, right?
It does have types. Sure, it has types.
Static types.
Uh,
I mean, variables do not have types, right?
Variables have types, but they're not. You don't define them at runtime. But I can type hint. Like here, this is a test. Let's go back to my index. Index. I hear. There you can see here that I said that the type of this server of errors, it should be an array, and it should return a string.
Is that's part of PHP?
That's something. It's part of PHP, but it's new. It didn't always have that.
So it's new.
Yeah, it's new. It's like it's a couple of years new, but it's relatively new.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm so outdated.
This is one of the things that I'm saying, that PHP has gotten so much better, and it's one of the things that we talked about at the beginning of it with Clojure, is that Clojure he's so much against static types, but I like static types. I like that I should be able to say, okay, I have this function, and make sure when you give me this function that I should get an array. Don't give me strings. Don't give me integers. It should be an array. And if you give me a string or an integer, I should die before the compiler should die. I shouldn't even. The user shouldn't have the option of giving me that type of.
Right. Yeah. You know, there's a project of Clojure with static types, right?
No,
there's Oh yeah, there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the Hickey probably doesn't like that too much.
Yeah.
He's very much everything that every talk that I've seen from him, he's very against static types.
Oh, really? I see.
That's, I think, one of the reasons that he started Clojure, is he didn't like the static types in Java.
I see.
But I haven't written anything in Java in years, so I don't even remember how to. I just remember that everything. It was just so weird to me that you had a main. You had to have a main class. I mean, I didn't get it. I didn't like the thing that everything had to be a class.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
So like C++, I mean, okay, classes are good. I mean, object-oriented programming is I like it, but that everything needs to be an object. When I bootstrap my thing, if you see in there, look on my screen. So it gives me at the bottom. You can't really see it. Let's see.
A file should declare new symbols. Yeah.
What?
It says a file should
declare new symbols, classes, or constants, and cause no other side effects, or it should do side effects, but not do both. So it's saying that when you write a file in PHP, this is a style, like it's kind of a style hint. You can see that's orange and not red. That's saying that, look, you're doing something not right. So you should be declaring classes and functions, or you should be doing kind of like bootstrap type of work, that you're getting your project up and running. So that's like your main function. So, but it realizes that there is kind of like an idea that you should have your main function should be procedural. It doesn't need to be object oriented. I mean, that I'm saying that I need to instantiate these classes, and I need to send off their methods. Why does that need to be a class? It doesn't. That's one of the things I never really got into with Java. So
there's one thing I never quite understand is why do these OOP language, including C, C++, Java, they have
C is not object oriented.
Right. But I mean, they have the main thing. Like the program start with the main function.
I think that came from C. C had a main function.
Right. I'm wondering, why do you need that? Because I thought in in functional programming languages, you don't usually have that, but I noticed that Haskell also have that, I think.
So in
Like-
in a functional programming language, how do you just write it like I guess like a bash script that you just start writing your code.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
PHP works that way.
Right. So why, why do we
I think
need
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I know why. I think I know why. So in C, you have to declare your functions before you use them.
Okay.
So you need to have your function declarations above the code that wants to run, right? So if you start declaring variables and all this stuff before, then you get to your main, which you actually want to do.
Yeah, but you still don't need main. You just put functions on top, definition on top,
You put definitions on top, but it'll start running. So what happens is in C, it's going to compile all your functions into objects and put them in a place in memory before it gets to main, and then it puts main in the memory, and then it goes when it goes to run, it has to have a place that it starts to run.
I see.
Does that make sense? It makes sense a lot more to me than in my head before I started talking about it.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know low level programming, so so it may you will need a lot to teach this thing. Yeah, because I don't know low level programming. So as far as I know, when you compile a C program, then you get these object files. Then there's linkers. I don't really quite understand exactly how they work. So
Yeah, C was fun, but
so you also program in C?
that's what most of my classwork was.
Most of your what class?
When I was working in when I was in university, most of our programming was in C.
Oh,
so
okay.
my degree is in computer engineering, not in computer science. So we did also a lot of lab work that we were sitting with oscilloscopes and resistors and transistors and getting shocked and blowing things up, and so that's a lot more low level. I also did some stuff with assembly there, but then I left and I didn't find any work in that kind of stuff, and I got into doing PHP, and then I got stuck with that for I guess almost 20 years now. I've been doing PHP.
Okay, cool.
So I will be very happy in the next project. I'm probably not going to do any PHP. It'll probably be because it's going to be much more hardware stuff that I need to do, and it's probably going to need to decide to do it into Java or C, or something like that. But my time is up now. I need to get going. It's
Okay.
almost 10 here. I have to be somewhere at 9:45. So I enjoyed the talk. I hope that anybody that was also watching also enjoyed it. So at the most we've had, let's see, let's take a look at the statistics here. The most we've had were 5 people watching. And I don't, that counts me and counts you, but I don't think so. Nobody came into Jitsi to chat with us, but next time they would. So I hope we can do this again. It was enjoyable.
Let's do it again.
Okay. So you should have a successful day.
Thank you.
Also.
Bye.
Bye.